Hello, hello, it's me, Arden Lee, and today I want to talk a little bit about how is your media diet? And I say media diet because that's a phrase that has become a little bit trendy lately. But I really mean your overall sensory diet, everything that you are taking in energetically. So I'll unpack a little bit more about what I mean by that. But in the meantime, if you have not already, I do encourage you to like my videos, subscribe to the channel, and have me in your feed a little more often. I'd love to hear from you about what kind of topics you want to hear about. So hit me up in the comments, tell me what you think, and let's stay connected. For today, as I said, I want to talk about how is your media diet. Now, people are talking about this phrase media diet, and essentially what they mean is what kind of media are you consuming? They say diet because just like food, we consume food, we also consume media. We absorb what we look at energetically. So for those of us who have been following the news, a lot of us are probably feeling quite depressed, right? Because we are taking in this incredibly traumatic material on a daily basis. Our political system right now, to say that it is in a state of turmoil would be an understatement. I have not seen anything like this in my lifetime. And, you know, even I lived in New York during 9/11. So, that's saying a lot. I have still never seen anything quite like what is going on right now with the amount of hatred, the amount of disdain, the amount of rage, the amount of repressed anger that is coming to the surface, and the amount of backlash that is coming back as a sort of equal but opposite response to that is something that I would suspect most of us who are alive today are not exactly accustomed to. It's pretty extreme. So a lot of us are having a hard time knowing exactly how to handle this. One of the things that I predicted back in early 2016 when Trump was still, just a candidate who was who wasn't quite predicted to win the election yet, just as it was starting to look like maybe he actually had a chance, I predicted that if he became president, it's not even a prediction, it's just, we already know. Already during his campaign, there was so much hate speech going on, particularly toward women, toward disabled people. We saw him mocking a disabled reporter. We saw him referring to immigrants with nasty names. And what I took from all of that was it reminded me of the experiments of Dr. Masaru Emoto. If you haven't heard of Dr. Masaru Emoto, I'll spell that. It's Masaru, and then his last name, Emoto. He did these experiments with water and with rice. He did these experiments with water where he would say words to the water. He would say, like, either he would have one container of water to which he would say like compliments and nice affectionate things and like things that are very positive, things that are very high vibe. And the other container he would end up saying, really insulting, bullying things to. And this idea that water certainly doesn't speak English, but then he would freeze them. He would freeze these into crystals, and the ice crystals that he saw under the microscope, with the water that was given the positive high vibe compliments, it formed these really beautiful, symmetrical, geometric shapes when it froze into these crystals. And the water that had received the negative commentary froze into these really asymmetrical, random, kind of ugly, for lack of a better word, shapes. These shapes that did not have the same geometry and form and symmetry to them. Similarly, he did this experiment on rice, on cooked rice. He had one container of cooked rice that he said nice, positive things to, another container of cooked rice that he said negative things to, and predictably, the rice that received the compliments stayed fresher longer, and the rice that received the negative vibe statements and the bullying ended up, rotting, decaying, deteriorating, going moldy, going bad. And this experiment has been repeated in a number of different ways. Just today, I was scrolling through my Facebook feed and I saw where there was a school that had done it with two different plants. And they had the plants in these sort of, glass containers, and they were playing on, on a tape recorder or whatever. They were playing over and over, nice positive compliments versus nasty feedback, nasty kind of bullying comments. And this was intended to teach the school children about the effects that bullying can have on someone. And sure enough, the plant that received the compliments was fresher and brighter and blooming, and the plant that received the negative commentary was wilted. It didn't grow as tall. It wasn't as vibrantly colored. You could see a visible difference between them. And that's just on plants and water and rice that doesn't even understand English. But energy is real and emotion is real, and they will affect our energetic and emotional bodies. So if you're constantly consuming media with all of this hate and rage and anger, it's going to have an effect on your body. And that is a very real thing. And that is the thing that I started saying when it started to look like Trump actually had like a sliver of a chance. I said, if he becomes president, this is what's going to happen. Everyone is going to be on edge. Everyone is going to feel irritated. Everyone is going to be down. Everyone is going to be depressed, regardless of the policies that he puts in place. Just from hearing that much hate speech on television every day, this is going to affect a whole population. We're essentially right now, our whole country is a petri dish of this hate and rage and misogyny and racism and anti-Semitism and fear-mongering. Just all of this awful vibrations hitting us every day, and we're being exposed to that, and we're watching it. And so we are like the rice, we are like the plants, and we are being exposed to this kind of speech and this kind of energy, this kind of emotional energy. So I come back to you and I ask you, what is your media diet like? What of this are you consuming? I don't watch, as much as possible, I don't watch videos of the news. I don't watch speeches. I will read the transcript of the speech. I will read what was said. I will read, but for me, just hearing that sound and hearing the words, seeing the delivery is so upsetting to me that I have to find other ways to stay informed. So it is, of course, important to stay informed. I very much believe that right now we all have a duty as citizens to keep up and to keep fighting, and to stay aware of what is going on out there and to all do our part. But I would really invite you to look at, where are you consuming this and taking on this energy versus, where can you just kind of find other ways to be informed about it, not expose yourself to that. And in that vein, I would like us to look at everything, every aspect of our lives, and look at the things that we're consuming. There is so much hatred and violence on television, even in our fiction. Are you filling your media diet with things that are nourishing you? Now, this isn't, I'm not going to go out there and I'm not going to say like video games cause school shootings, and I'm not going to say that violence on TV causes, violence and rage, in people in their everyday lives, because of course a responsible person can consume plenty of media like that and still not commit those atrocities. I think that is a derailment of an argument that is designed to keep us from the main problem. However, I will say that being exposed to those traumatic images and those traumatic words and that speech and whatever it is, it's going to have an effect on your body. Something that happened recently is that there is apparently a lawsuit against Facebook because they did not provide adequate mental health services to the people whose job it was to screen all of the reported images. So they said very plainly, this job is not for everyone, but there are so many employees who were affected by having to look at this traumatizing imagery day in and day out and not feeling like they had enough support from Facebook to take care of their mental health in order to not be affected by these things. So again, this is whatever all of this is. This is the Dr. Masaru Emoto experiment on a grand scale. What are you exposing yourself to? So equally as important as removing some of the traumatizing imagery from your life while still, making sure you are staying informed, equally important to that is making sure that there are high vibe, positive things that you are exposing yourself to. For this reason, everyone loves the Great British Baking Show. And this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. This delightful show that my friends Harris and Catherine O'Malley turned me on to when I visited them in Austin last month. You guys might have remembered Harris has an interview a couple weeks back. I posted an interview with him on this channel where we were sitting in a hot tub talking about the effects of negative self-talk. So it all comes full circle. Very cool guy. We were all watching the Great British Baking Show together, and what I love about it is how everyone who talks about it talks about how polite everyone is to each other, how much they want the other people to succeed and to win, and how even when people, inevitably get eliminated from the show, there's always hugs and there's never any shaming. It's all very positive and it's all very supportive. I even heard that some of the hosts, when a contestant is messing something up, will run over and start screaming either swear words or brand names so that the footage isn't usable, so that even the producers can't display the footage of these people making a mistake. And I think that's such a kind atmosphere. So I ask you, what else are you adding to your media diet to counteract the effects of what you do need to watch or read or consume in order to stay informed? Because that's equally as important as making sure you're tuning out when possible. So there's the Great British Baking Show. There's also, I love watching Extraordinary Homes on Netflix. It's, another BBC show. And just about, these people who travel around and look at all these really beautiful houses. I love to watch that. I love to imagine, these beautiful spaces. What else do I like to watch? I love to watch, tweeny fantasy romance. One of my favorite movies is Beautiful Creatures. I also love The Never-Ending Story. I also love The Princess Bride, Labyrinth. Labyrinth is a little darker, but it still feels good. I'm goth, so it works for me. So I love whatever it is. I love being able to watch things that are beautiful, things that are visually beautiful, things with beautiful words in them. I love to hear beautiful language. I love to expose myself to this kind of media and to this kind of sensory imagery in general. Even if it's, if it's music, I love to listen to soothing, high vibe music. I've cut out so much of the hard rock and heavy metal that I used to listen to when I was in New York, and I thought I had to be tough. Now that times are more difficult and I am resensitizing and I'm being more careful about what I consume and not just trying to listen to what everyone else thinks is cool, I end up listening to a lot of really beautiful, soft, ambient music because it makes me feel held, it makes me feel cared for, it makes me feel nurtured. So we can't control the dumpster fire that the world is right now, but we can absolutely control what we take in and what we surround ourselves with. It's another reason why I put a lot of effort into having a home that I love. I could have spent that effort elsewhere. I could have spent that time and money elsewhere, but I allocated it to making sure that I have a space that really serves me, because being in a space that I find beautiful, you might find it weird, it's kind of goth as you can see, but being in a space that I find beautiful, that I find soothing, makes a huge difference in my happiness levels and in how I go about my day. And I really encourage you to know the difference between taking care of yourself and just tuning out. Because the thing is, you are going to accomplish so much more in the world, and you're going to be a better advocate if you're rested and you're nurtured and you're happy. So do take care of yourself, do take care of what you consume, and look for those things that make you feel good. I mentioned the Great British Baking Show, and I mentioned Extraordinary Homes, and I mentioned, some of the, fantasy romance movies that make me feel good or happy or whatever, Things in the World Make Sense. Stardust is another really good one. Even What Dreams May Come, it's kind of like, that one gets a little dark at some points, but it's so, I love that. And Astral City is another really interesting one that most people don't know about it, because it's believe it's in Portuguese and has subtitles. But you know, all of these great things that are available to us, that will make us feel better, that will make us feel good. You know, in these tough times, I really advise you, you know, watch out for the horror movies you're watching. Watch out for, you know, the action movies with a lot of gruesomeness and violence, not because, you know, not because they're inherently bad, but just because there's so much traumatizing imagery that we are already being exposed to right now. So really just take care of your soul and ask yourself what your soul needs, and listen to it, you know, and surround yourself with beauty, surround yourself with art, surround yourself, you know, and even art, you know, even art can be high vibe and low vibe, you know, even, you know, find those things that give you hope in the world, that focus on things like love and beauty and nature and all of the good that is in the world, while there's so much bad that is in the world presently as well. And keep tuning in here, because I will absolutely do my best to keep my channel as high vibe as possible and help you to focus on solutions in your life. And when we talk about the dark stuff, you know, we're going to go there too, of course, but we always want to focus on how to move forward, how to get past it, and how to regain hope. So thank you so much for watching. That's my promise to you, and I'll see you next time.